everybody, I'm Dr. Karen Mikowski. How are you? I'm also the leading paranormal investigator in any of my paranormal investigations, like cold cases, etc. So, today's case I want to discuss is a tricky one because it's what I would refer, it's more, it's a psychic dream, but I've had them since I've been a child, so I know what these ones are. They usually tend to come to pass. Now, believe it or not, I carved it for research purposes only, obviously, but I would class this one more as a public announcement or just a public warning, because I'll try and explain the report. I mean, to be honest, it really doesn't matter because this doesn't need distributing. Obviously, I'm going to put, because it's not like a cold case or an active or open investigation. To be honest, it felt like these two particular people are actually active, but they are what I was seeing and dealing with these two in this case was absolute scammers. Thieves, just thieves. And there's many people like this, unfortunately. Just dirty lying, thieving people. Terrible people. But they're a couple. And it's strange because when I was in the visual, and I knew immediately it was one of my weird ones, which are more of a psychic nature. I tend to wait. When I sort of come around after a dream, I tend to wait about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and if I'm still remembering everything, I'll immediately start writing the data down, because then I know it's different, just a normal weird dream, etc. But I know the difference anyway, because I've been dealing with these since I was a child, as I said. But this one there was a young girl. She was in her early 20s, but she looked a lot younger. And her boyfriend was in his early 30s. Let me try, excuse me, yeah. So they both, I know it was a major city, it was a big city, because there was a bar scene. Now, what I was sort of seeing was them both interacting with just people in bars, right? Mostly men, older men. And they would discuss openly that they have an open relationship. So basically the older men would want to sleep with her, and she would sleep with these older men and basically take their information from their credit. I was watching her take the credit card information, and she was basically stealing money. She was stealing money. It was a scam. Stealing money, and she wasn't stealing the credit card information or the debit card, it was just cash directly out the wallet. Now, I kept seeing multiple older men, obviously, because she's got the youth, she knows exactly what to do, but her boyfriend's in on it. So now I feel like they've been doing this a long time, long before the pandemic or shutdown or anything like that, lockdown. I feel like they've been at it for a good few years. And so they're able to dress nice. They're able to, like, if you was to look at her, you wouldn't think butter would melt in her mouth. I mean, she's really young, really pretty, really long curly black hair, dark brown eyes, like almost black. Like, I looked at her eyes, I'm like, what the, I'm used to see it. Well, there was no light, to put it that way. There's zero light in either of them. So to me, there's sort of soul, zero light, no soul. Just really bad people. But her eyes stood out because they were like almost black, and I'm like, okay. And his were like brown, but they can afford to dress really nice, and they hang out with like the in crowd, etc. So they're kind of a popular couple too, but they are absolute criminals, and I felt like they haven't been caught yet. Absolutely not. Now, when they're not doing this, when she's not sleeping with men to steal her money, they're stealing people's wallets and purses from shoppers in malls and stores and stuff. It was so brazen. Like, these people were terribly brazen people, and zero remorse, zero guilt. They just did not care. Absolutely did not care. It was everybody else's fault. Now, I was wondering why, it just didn't feel like they've even been caught by the authorities yet. But what I did see later on was them getting arrested. And I tried really hard to sort of see if I could find like a date or anything, but I couldn't get the location either, which is really annoying. But that wouldn't be too hard. They had this like real Mediterranean look. Like, you would look at them and go, oh, they're a really good looking couple, but fucking snakes. Absolute snakes. You don't want to be around people like that at all. I remember seeing some of the male victims, like, kind of devastated because I don't know how or what they were doing with their bank information, with their credit card or but they were able to drain their bank accounts. It was really weird. And I didn't see exactly what the scam was. It was just she was just getting access to the credit, debit card information, the banking information, etc. Or just basically stealing money directly. But I just felt like I just looked at these two people and I thought, you need to be in prison for a very long time. But to be honest, it was strange because when they sort of did get arrested, so they do actually get caught, they didn't even care. Like, she was smirking all the way through a police interview, like she just didn't give a shit. Like I say, zero remorse, zero guilt, zero acknowledgement of the consequences. He was more concerned about going to prison, like jail. But she was major playing the victim. In every victim card that is available to a woman today, she played it. They were both blaming the pandemic, and they've been at this long before any of this. So I feel like, I don't know, there's not really much I can do with this one apart from story, because I would be intrigued to see if this comes to fruition, if a couple like this, and I'll know exactly who they are if I see them on the news or anything like that. If they're arrested for like major fraud and scamming, stealing money, basically just thieves. But the reason the men, there was like, I felt like there should be numerous reports from men, but they didn't report her because they were married men, and they couldn't be going home and explaining to their wives why they've lost thousands of dollars. I mean, seriously, that's like divorce material, really. But whatever. But again, they were, in that sense of being being ripped off. They were victims of these two, and that's why they didn't care, because they knew these men were never going to report them. The only reports I felt like was what got them caught was, stealing people's wallets, etc. in stores, and I think it had to do more with like the CCTV was able to sort of crack them. There was a lot of reports to do with stolen wallets and stolen purses in one specific area constantly, like enough to create a pattern. And I think that's how they do get caught. But I hope to God they don't just get a slap on. They probably will, but if they get a slap on the wrist, it's going to be an absolute injustice, because they are vile human beings and they will do it again and again. And then let's just say they're not the type of people that are just going to stop doing what they're doing because it's too easy. It was easy money, and she loved it. Like him, he was just more annoyed that he got caught. She just was just laughing, like, whatever, I don't care. Like, she just didn't care. Had this, like I say, I remember just looking at her in the visual and like this awful smirk on her face. It was more like, I don't know, it was an inconvenience to her for being arrested for stealing people's money, stealing people's wallets, etc. Terrible human beings, these two. So I felt like I just had to put a bit of a public warning out there, more than anything. Like, if you're in a major city and you see this couple, I don't know, I mean, don't get me wrong, they have a look like would look like many people, but there was just something about them Mostly on the, you know, especially on the bar scene, like they go to bars and they sort of chat up like well-off men, you know, who are not there with their wives or girlfriends, and you know they openly tell the male victims too that they're in an open relationship, so she can take them to bed basically, or vice versa. And that's how she's able to just sort of get them. I think she gets the most money. They were scamming the most money from these men, these married men, or just men in general. But I feel like the reasons, well, it's not rocket science, is it? There's no way they're going to report. They have to explain why, you know, in the first place. And you know, I think just don't get complacent with your, you know, with your wallet, with your purses. Lock your bags up. Like if you I see it all the time. It's really strange. I'll be walking through a grocery store and women have their purses on their trolleys, right? On their carts, their trolleys, and the freaking thing's wide open, and then they'll go to an aisle and leave. It's like, what is wrong with you people? That's just inviting a thief. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? You wouldn't if you had any sense. You'd just lock your purse up, right? Or keep it on you, because people are not looking good, right? So, but it's bizarre. So I don't know. I feel like these people could. You know what it really felt like? It was really horrible. Like they've basically drained savings, people's saving, like, well, I don't know how a husband explains the full savings from the bank account being drained. I have no idea how they could even explain that to the wife. But there you go. So, but it did feel like they drained people's savings accounts and everything. I have no idea what the scam was, but they were stealing the credit and debit card information. I don't know if they had equipment elsewhere. I didn't see any of that. But they were able to steal thousands of dollars from each people, or hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Really disgusting people. But they're just one of many. Actually, they're two of many. There's people like that all over the place, everywhere. There's too many of them these days. But they were brazen. Like, okay, they just didn't care. Stealing people's wallets in the daytime, they just didn't care. It's really strange. So I feel like I'm going to see mugshots of them at some point in the future, and I'll know immediately, like, oh god, it is them, and that's exactly what they'll be getting arrested for. I really feel like that's what's going to happen. But I think until then, I guess that's why I just want to put it out there, like, you know what, just stop being so complacent with your belonging, with your money, and stuff like that. You know, do what you want. If you're a grown-ass man and you want to sleep with a younger woman, do what you want, but you know, there's consequences. Especially if you come across these two. I don't think it's worth it, but hey, there you go. So, yeah, I think this one was more just for, I mean, this is case, I've put this under the case PDPC03, so this is more for research. I'll be intrigued to see, like I say, if I see a mugshot, I'm going to know immediately what it's that. We shall see, but yeah, she's, like I say, she's going to play the victim. She's not going to want to go to jail. But she's actually, out the two of them, she's worse. She's terrible. Like, it's almost like she is the one that, it's not like he controls her and makes her do it. It's like the other way around. But to look at her, you wouldn't ever think that, and you wouldn't think butter would melt in her mouth. Yeah, she's vile. So, if anybody that comes across these two or has to, you know, cross paths with these, I feel really sorry for you. Now, if there's friends out there that know somebody, like a couple like that, and are friends with them, and you actually know what they're doing, well, you're a vile enabler, and you're a terrible, terrible people. But yeah, it doesn't say much for you types of people, does it really? So, but you know, if you did the right thing and you knew, you should, you Yeah, I don't care, just call the cops on them. Because they're not going to stop until they get caught. And even then, like I say, maybe him, but her, she did not seem like she had any intentions of stopping. I think the only thing that would really stop her, even in the future, is long prison term, where she can't be stealing money from men or people. So yeah, really shitty vision, really. I mean, to be shown that as well, obviously there was a reason for it, to have to see it all, because there was so much detail, which is really strange. Like, seriously, whoever is on 5D wanting me to see that much data, etc., really was concerned for the public, because there could actually been a lot more victims. There could have been quite a lot. And maybe it's just time to put an end to it, but clearly they're good at it because they haven't been caught yet. So hopefully this will help somehow, or help people stop being victims to them. Other than that, I will speak to you all soon.